in Europe.
So here we are then, with my friend Juan Caamaño from Spain. It's a very pleasure and honor, and I'm very grateful that we're having this chat. Juan, thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself to the people that are watching this video right now. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. It would be very much appreciated.
So sure, as you said, well, my name is Juan Caamaño. I'm from Spain, and I'm forestry engineer. But I specialize myself in forest fires and wildfires. When I finished my degree, well, before even I finished my degree, I started working as a firefighter in a unit in central of Spain, and after with that, I just became helitack crew leader, working for different regions around all over Spain. And but then I met this person called Mark Castelnau. He's a very known man, firefighter that developed the fire analysis methodology that we use basically in Spain, and he invited me to be part of his team. So I joined it to become a fire behavior analyst, to learn a little bit about that methodology to understand how fire moves. So I've been working on fires for about 22 years in different projects and different organizations, and even moving all around the world. I had a chance to move to Indonesia to work as a air operations supervisor program. And so I've done many things around the world and with many organizations related with wildfires. That's a little bit me. And now I'm working in Pau Costa Foundation as responsible of the exchange knowledge and training area.
I'm pretty sure that everyone who watches this will be in awe because of your experience and knowledge, as I am, and as I was with the first time when you told me about the experience and the fields that you have been working with all these years. I mean, honestly, people like you, it's the people that keep pushing things forward. It's the people that make a change and making an impact. I have the highest respect for you and the Pau Costa Foundation. I'm very grateful that I have met you guys last few years, actually. So I have met a couple of people from that foundation, and I'm very grateful because of the knowledge exchange that I have gained, the inside thinking. Because I am a firefighter myself, I was only attack, fire at will, and my whole thought process has been conditioned very differently from the time that I have been involved with the Pau Costa Foundation and the fire ecology and what happens and the natural, actually looking fire as a natural common disturbance and not like our hard sword enemy.
Enemy, as our enemy. Yeah, yes. You said it. I mean, somehow there's some people that we need to move things forward and make some changes, because now we're in a situation regarding wildfire that we need to understand we need to understand a different way of looking at wildfires. In the last 30, 40 years, we've been looking at fire as our enemy that we need to suppress, and we need to take it out of our forests and our mountains and our ecosystems. But if we look a little bit deeper into fire, what fire is and how we link fire and ecosystems in Mediterranean region, obviously. We're talking about Mediterranean countries and Mediterranean region, but this can be used, this kind of knowledge and and experience it's also good for other ecosystems in other parts of the world. So yeah, somehow we need to understand the role of fire in this type of ecosystems and work with it. And rather than being a organizations that try to suppress fire and try to eliminate fire from this type of ecosystems, in a way we need to move forward into organizations that manage fire in this type of ecosystems. That's a completely different way of looking at things, and we need to teach society and we need to teach professionals about fire ecology, about the need of putting fire on the ground, good fire on the ground, to avoid to have this huge wildfire that we're seeing in the last weeks, for sure. So we need to change many things around forest fires, perception.
in light of the recent fires that we have in Spain, and of course in Portugal, and of course in Greece, but let's go back in Spain because it's your home country. And as we told me before, it was all these fires have been around your own home, so you felt it the most. Do you think that are we in a good route? Let's talk about Spain because this is your field. Is Spain and the very public of Spain, the Spanish people, towards that? Are you headed towards that perception of the risk or perception of the wildfires itself?
I would say that we're in an inflection point where, I mean, firefighting organizations, we cannot do better than what we're doing. I mean, we have reached our limit. Most of these fires that we have seen the last few weeks, they're way beyond our suppressing capacity. So we're not able to deal with these fires in a safe and efficient way. I mean, so we now are in this point where we need to make society understand that we have reached our limit, that we cannot defend every part of the land, and we cannot sometimes defend even themselves and the towns because we have a limit. We have a limit on resources. We have a limit on suppression capacity, and there's so much fuel built up on our forests and our ecosystems that once things come along like weather, drought, and everything, the fires that we're seeing, they are so intense and so rapid that we're not able to deal with those fires in a safe way. So we need to start changing things, obviously. And the question you asked me, are we in the right direction in Spain? Well, we're moving. We're trying to shift the ship or the car into that path. We're trying to. And that's why Pau Costa Foundation was founded in a way, okay? Because one of the missions of Pau Costa Foundation was to change society way of looking at fire, trying to understand that fire has a role in the ecosystem that they live on. And so yeah, we're working on that. I mean, I would not say we're in the path. I would not say we're in the path and we're moving in that path, but we're trying to shift everything into that path for sure.
So Pau Costa Foundation is, you think, or from your experience, is that the link between the understanding of fire ecology and the emergency services? So are you bringing these two together? So are you bringing the academic and the understanding of fires along with the practitioners? Are you doing this? Are you the link between the two? Do you think you are?
Yeah, that's another mission that why was Pau Costa Foundation founded. I mean, the thing was that we saw that there was this scientific organization studying fires, but studying the fire and how fire moves in vegetation and the relationship between fire and the atmosphere, blah, blah, blah. And we saw this other technological organization developing these fancy applications or fancy technology equipment to suppress fire. And there was this firefighters. But we saw that these three organizations or these three organizations were not really linked between each other. So what we try through Pau Costa is to link the different stakeholders that somehow has connection with wildfires. For example, the scientific community that are studying wildfires, operational community that respond to forest fire and that do prevention, and technological, and even society. We need to make society also responsible to everything around forest fire too, because the way we consume, the way we go to the supermarket has a huge impact on the territory that we live on. So we wanted to connect all these dots that they were separate, okay? They were independent. But through Pau Costa Foundation, we built this platform where we try to connect all these people to share their knowledge and experience and come together with an idea on how do we need to deal with this problem all together.
It's fascinating, and as I said before, it's admirable your work it's a very difficult task to do, to make a shift in culture. It requires persistent perseverance, knowledge, and patience. Above all, I think it requires much patience. So how are the communities?
This is a long-term thing. Yeah, this is a long-term. This is a long-term objective for sure.
So how are the communities responding to your revolutionized ideas? Let's say, how are they responding when you approach them? Communities or community leaders, how they see you? How they see this change?
Well, I think they're hearing at us. I mean, they're starting to understand. We have different projects and workshops to try to make them understand this thing that I just told you about the relationship about a forest fire ecosystems and how we need to use good fire to manage the land in some way. And because the thing is that 40, 50 years ago, the idea was to suppress every fire. And we had hundreds of on the TV, on the radios and everything saying, hey, we need to prevent forest fires. Don't light a fire at the forest, blah, blah, blah. There has been many of those programs trying to eliminate forest fire and looking at fire as the enemy. So how is responding that? I think they're starting to hear politicians. The other day I saw this politician in the government talking about wildfires, and he did it in a well-knowledged way. I mean, he was really well advised, and he said many of these messages that I just told you. He said it there in the Congress. So I said, okay, we're in the right direction. So and now, because we have had these huge fires, there was a lot of media coming into us, into the professionals, looking for answers about what was happening. And based on what I have seen in the media in the last days, most of the people that were interviewed were in the same direction. They were saying the same things. We need to manage our forests. We need to not invest so much in suppressing resources. Even firefighters are the ones saying, don't invest in more airplanes. We don't need more airplanes. We need to manage the fuel. We need to manage land. So the message is there. The message is out there now. But now society needs to move a little bit forward and make politicians make the right decisions based on managing the land. So I think the message is there. Society has listened to it, and now let's see in the next 2 years what will happen. But I'm positive about it. I'm positive. Let's see.
In light of these recent impactful heat waves, I think you have record temperatures again this year, as well as Portugal, and of course this contributed to all these cataclysmic wildfires. Do you think will get worse? What do you think about the future?
Well, 5 years ago, we thought that the future was this, and it's here. We're not in the future. We're in the present right now. And this is what we thought it was going to happen 5 years, 10 years ago. When we look into the future, we said, okay, this is how the future looked like, and that's where we are. How does the future look like? Well, I mean, have in mind that right now in Spain has burned about 200,000 hectares, okay? That's way above the average by this time of the year. So, and most of these fires that are burning forest pine trees, okay? So it will be rare in those type of areas now will grow the same forest. It will not grow the same forest. It will grow something different. It will be more shrubland based on the weather, on the climatic situation that we're living. Those forests, they will move into a shrubland forest type. So for me, the future looks like that we will have this wave of big wildfires as we're seeing now, huge fires that are really difficult to suppress. But now, once the land changes in 20 years from now, because this is a change, what we're seeing at the moment, it's a huge change of the ecosystem. Just as we saw it in Australia, that millions of hectares just burned, okay, in 2019. And if you remember, that was a big change for the ecosystem. So are we going to have those type of fires again in the same place? No, we're not. We're going to have low intensity fires in those places, or at least not so intense, because the land will change and the vegetation and the fuel will be different from this point now, because they will grow a different forest, a different ecosystem based on the climate. So we will still see this type of fires moving, at least in Spain, but in 20 years from now, we will not have so much fuel because it would have been burned with this type of wildfire. So intensity on wildfire will go low, will start descending in maybe 10 years from now, 5 years from now, once all the fuel on our landscape will be burned by these fires. And another thing is to look to Northern European countries. That's another thing, okay? They will increase. They're in this point that they're increasing, and we don't know yet where they're heading and where is their limit yet about the intensity and type of fires they're more likely to have. So we don't know yet. There's a lot of uncertainty on those type of for sure they will increase wildfire activity. That's for sure. Okay, we are seeing that at the moment, but we don't really know what is the intensity and the capacity of those fires to burn fuel in that part of those landscapes.
And building on that, we saw the images from southern London this year and last week, and we saw that fire developing off the motorway, and we saw the intensity. It was like watching a southern European country. The intensity of that fire was very bad. I mean, it's very strange for England. I was in England back in April, and you know, I was passing from a place and I was watching this, analyzing the vegetation, let's say, in close look, and I said, if all these are dry, and I was watching the houses as well, and I saw the build up of the houses. There is a lot of wood involved, you know, the classic British houses, how they are constructed, and I was speaking to myself inside of my head, and I was saying that if things go bad, I think UK you maybe will face a significant problem in terms of dealing with these incidents with regards to resources and fire service and the training of the firefighters, and also, of course, the communities, because there is so much natural built-up vegetation everywhere. And it's beautiful right now, but as we saw, and with the heat wave affecting last week and that fire, you know, it makes you think what will be the impact of these events following the climate crisis. And I'm sure that the UK must be all over it right now. Well, I hope so. They are, because they have a pattern. They have a pattern from Southern Europe. They have a pattern from US. So yes, there is something to worry about there. Not the northern countries, for sure.
Yeah, northern countries should look at what is happening in southern European countries, and obviously they will not have those type of fires right now, but they will.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said before, the wildfire activity in those part of the world will increase, obviously, because they're going to be suffering the same weather that southern European countries is suffering. 40 degrees Celsius of temperature. That's what we saw last week in England. I mean, in UK, that's unbelievable. I mean,
unbelievable.
40 degrees, the same thing as we have in southern European countries. So that's incredible. And same HR, humidity, really low. So that's why we have seen those type of fire behavior similar to the ones that we have in southern European countries. And also have in mind that the ecosystem in those part of the world are not really ready to are used to that type of weather conditions. So because in Spain, 40 degrees, even though it's not that normal, I mean, there's some time of the years that we can reach that. So the vegetation it's used to reaching that type of temperatures and weather conditions. It has mechanisms to defend itself. but not the vegetation and the ecosystem that we're seeing in UK. So it means that it will be more stress. Those type of ecosystems will suffer a lot more that it's suffering Mediterranean ecosystems, and it means that will be more how do you say, they will be more available to burn on a wildfire, okay, rather than the Southern European countries. So it's going to be a big change in this type of regions, what climate change it will bring, and also how it will be linked to fire, okay, and we need to understand that fire is a natural perturbance that open spaces for new ecosystems to build up in those spaces. So there's a big change coming in the next years to come. And fire has a huge role in this change, because it allows changes on ecosystems by opening areas. So yeah, we'll see that a lot.
Yeah, it will be very interesting. It is from one side of the coin. It's the uncertainty is quite scary. Scary is a correct word. Worrying, maybe it's worrying.
No, that's scary.
It's uncertainty. Yeah. It's scary. Let's say it's scary because yes, it is scary. You're right. Climate, it's a crisis.
Uncertainty brings. I mean, uncertainty for most of the people bring this sense of not having control of the situation, and that makes people be fear and it's scary about the future. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty about what's coming in the next years around fire and around the changes that will come along with the climate change and how we perceive it as humans, because this is a change, and a change that have been made by us, obviously, but for the earth and for the ecosystems, it's just a change, and they will adapt itself to this change, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the wave of changes, and the evolution and the adaptation to this new climate situation.
Yeah, and what I have observed, at least in my country, where there's a significant fire, there's a big outcry. There's worrying everywhere. The media assisting in this worrying and in this outcry. Everybody is scaring about the wildfires. Everyone is worrying about the climate crisis. When the fire is out, the outcry ceases. There is no worrying about climate crisis. There is no worry about wildfires. And then we're waiting one whole year till they start worrying again. And that worries me the most, that the worrying starts in June or May and ends in September, October, or November. It should be like this. We should be worrying and trying to do the best all year round, at least in my eyes, in my humble opinion, because we don't need to lose people or lose huge territories of wildland and forest and to start worrying. And we forget so easily. People forget so easily. We don't want to see such catastrophes, so we start worrying. We should be more proactive. And as you said, and this is the purpose of the Pau Costa Foundation, to act proactively and adapt in line with the nature, as you very well stated. So we discussed about fire ecology and a little bit about communities. Let's go to the tactical side now, to the actual firefighting. You are a firefighter at heart, as I am, and I can tell that when we met, I can see the spark within you. So let's speak about firefighting. So what's the best advice you would advise any fire rescue service in the world? Or let's stay topical. Let's stay in the southern part of Europe, or if you like, the whole Europe, because northern part now they need to adapt as well. So what will be the best advice for you as a subject matter expert? What will be the best advice for now? It's a very difficult question.
Well, yeah, it is, but I will try to simplify my answer.
Mhm.
Understand that fire moves. It's a dynamic thing. That's for me one of the key things for firefighting operations. Understanding that fire moves, evolves, changes, and changes really fast. So you need to be really flexible once you see the fire to understand what the fire will do in the next hours to come and make decisions based on that. That's for me one of the hardest things. Looking at the future and make decisions based on how that future looks like. And that's the key thing on forest fires. Because the main mistakes I've made in my career when I'm deployed to a forest fire and I need to lead a crew to do or implement maneuvers on a wildfire is to look at the fire, see that photo, and understand that that photo is giving me information about how the future looks like in the next hours. Don't make decision based on that photo that you're seeing at the moment, the picture that you're seeing, because that's the past. By the time you make the decisions, you put your people to work and you get the fire engine if you're building a water line or whatever, or you're talking with a helicopter or whatever, that picture has just changed. So for me, forest firefighting is one of the hardest things because you need to look into the future and try to mm, get as much information on what you're seeing and put it into the future. And that's the hardest thing for me. But that will allow you to make um, proactive decisions. If now you're going to be behind the fire. If you don't do that, if you don't work on future scenarios, you will be always behind the fire. If the fire moves to the left, you will move to the left. If the fire moves to the right, the fire will you're moving to the right. So I know you cannot allow the fire to govern you. You need to govern the fire. You need to decide how your future scenario will you like it, how it should look like, and you decide based on the resources you have where you're going to put it at. So that's for me my advice. Look into the future. Make sure that you understand that fire is dynamic and it's moving and will change, and that you're able to predict those changes.
What about the firefighters? What about training of the firefighters? What do you think will be the best training for the firefighters? It's a very big question
Well,
as well. Very
it
big
is.
question. Shall we narrow it? Let's say.
So,
Do you think every firefighter should be afforded with wildfires training, especially for Southern Europe?
can you repeat that question for me? I
Sure.
didn't get it.
Do you think that every firefighter should be given formal firefighting for wildfires training?
Well, sure, if they have to go to a forest fire, sure, they need to get training. I mean, this is something that Northern European countries are challenging, are trying to do now. They're putting structural firefighters into forest fires with the equipment they normally go to structural forest fires, to structural fires. I mean, with this heavy trucks that they're not able to go
Big
into dirt
trucks.
roads, big trucks with the structural firefighting gear. That's completely a big mistake or a big error to go to a forest fire with that type of equipment. So we need to train the people and give them the proper equipment for the emergency and the type of risk they're going to be facing on those type of emergencies. And forest fire, it's unique, I would say. It's not forest fire is not the same as structural fire that you might have in a house or in whatever. So we need to train them for sure. But that question that you just throw to me, it's a really hard one because I've been involved in training for many years, looking at the way on how is the best way to train forest firefighters or wildland firefighters, and it's not an easy answer for me. I've been doing that for many years, and because I'm going to put me as an example. I'm forestry engineer. I finished my degree in 2003. I went into a classroom, received a 1 week training on helitack on a classroom with PowerPoint presentation. 1 week from that point, I was jumping into a helicopter to suppress a wildfire. A team I was leading. So I asked myself, I was only 23 years old, and I asked myself, have I received the proper training to do this? Obviously, the question was not. Okay, I was not. I mean, I was thrown into a classroom for 1 week just with photos, but I was not able to see any helicopter. I was not able to be trained how to work with a helicopter. I was not able to train. I was not trained to lead a team of firefighters because I was the leader, because I'm a forestry engineer. So I was the leader of that crew. So I said to myself, okay, this is not the right way of doing things. So, I mean, we should look at how the military are being trained because they use a more competence type of training based on the ability of doing things rather than just throwing to you a lot of PowerPoint presentation and a lot of knowledge. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to start working on training and trying to change things and develop this training programs more based on competences and abilities and emotional part also of the human being, because it's also about making team leading and working together. So there's a lot of human factor around it rather than just throwing people a lot of manuals, books, and PowerPoint presentation in a classroom, because that's not working. It really doesn't work. I mean, most of my fellows and partners and firefighters that I have worked with, we have trained ourselves by acting, by going to fires. Oh, we made a mistake. Oh, we have to learn from it. So we're in a way, we call it autodidacta. We learn from the experience that we have, not because there was a training program in place that trained us. Okay, because we don't have that in Spain. We have training in the different organizations, but we don't have a national training program that tells you how this training should look like and how it should be developed in a way that the people that goes to fire are the best and they're really prepared. We're working on that, and Pau Costa Foundation is also working on that direction.
Very interesting, very interesting. I think it's the holy grail what you just said for training, and not just knowledge-based, competence and confidence-based. This is what I believe very as well. If you remember when we had a one-to-one chat back on Ireland, and I have shared with you that this is what I believe as well. People rely too much on PowerPoint and on knowledge transfers, not knowledge transfer, information transfer. So they're getting a bucket and they're throwing the information to the trainees. It doesn't work. It never works. People just don't learn by throwing a bucket of information on top of them. So yes, this is so good, and I hope that those who are listening to us right now, they will be understanding the importance and the significance of providing bespoke training for wildfires, for wildland firefighters. It's either forest or wildland cells. So I know you have a very tight program, and
I can stay 5 more minutes. 10 more
5 more minutes. So because you have 5 more minutes, I will ask the next question then. If you're speaking with communities in Cyprus, you know the climate. You've been here, so we have some forests and we have lots of wildland. Of course, it's a miniature. We are only a small island, and so what will be your advice for the communities? On the communities, let's say you have the communities, the different areas of Cyprus, and you are the trainer or you are the guest speaker, the expert, and you're about to prepare them or advise them about wildfires. What will be your advice to them?
Okay, basically there will be two. learn how to live with forest fires because as I was able to see when I was in Cyprus, I mean, it's a Mediterranean region, Mediterranean ecosystem, so it will burn. Sooner or later, it will burn. That's it. That's an objective thing. It's not negative or positive. It is what it
It's a
is.
fact.
Okay, it will burn.
Statistic.
So
Yeah.
get ready for it. Try to understand fire. Live with it. Get ready. And when I'm saying getting ready, it's to understand the role of fire and make understand that the way you go to the supermarket affects the land around you. Understand that you need to have a self capacity to protect yourself from forest fire. Don't put fire. Don't leave that responsibility only to the firefighters that are coming to support you to help you. I mean, you need to do your job. It means that around your house and around your town, you need to create the defendable areas to avoid fire coming in. Okay, and you with your support, you're helping firefighters in a way and make them make their job easier once the fire reaches your place or your community. So get ready, basically, get ready and get this situational awareness about where you are, where you live, and look around you and make this question to yourself: what is the risk I'm facing living here, and how do I avoid those risks? Okay, and how can I support the firefighters that are coming in to suppress a wildfire that might happen around my town? How can I help them? So those basically are the advices that I will give communities around it. Don't live in a way that you're not looking or facing the risks that that you live with around you. And Mediterranean countries, uh, they face wildfires every year. So we need to live looking at them, not looking at them and then saying, oh, we have a wildfire, firefighters come here and suppress this fire. No, don't put the responsibilities only on the firefighters. We need to share that responsibility among other stakeholders.
Absolutely. We're speaking the same language, and I'm so glad that I'm having this discussion. And this is what I've been told to people as well, that brace yourselves for what's coming. Because as I told you before, people are forgetting. If they're not impacted by the fire, if the fire is 50 kilometers, 80 kilometers out there, they don't really feel the fire. And I've been to a couple of fires, the most significant in Cyprus, voluntarily to actually assist and see the phenomena. Because I was worrying, I have been worrying, and the fire we had last year in Aragabas, you heard it, you text me last year when there was a fire, and you asked me if we need some assistance, and etc. And I was appreciate that so much. But when I saw that wall of fire just vanishing a whole mountain in a blink of an eye, I was really, really worrying. And I saw the faces of those people, and it's those faces that you cannot forget. And
yeah,
but we cannot, how shall I say that without insulting the people? The communities, the very citizens need to engage. I'm totally agree with you. They need to get engaged. They cannot rely their homes, their lives only to the fire services or the forest service or the civil defense, the civil protection. I totally agree. They need to be engaged. They need to clean the houses around, create defensible space. They need to be aware of the fires. They need to anticipate that maybe that fire will come to them, or anticipate that that fire will come to them sooner or later. It's clear statistic. It only takes an error. On the 23rd, 3 days ago, it was 4 years after Mati fire in Greece, where 104 people lost their lives. And that fire, I think, it shakes us the most back to the southern European, southern Mediterranean, let's say, because so many people lost their lives. And we have actually videos that show the the intensity and the severity of the fire. There was a video, and there was a lady on the speaking to the emergency services, and she was saying to the 112, the emergency number, to the fire service, why have you forgot about us? And you know, this sentence, it's always in my mind, and it's a sentence that I don't want to hear as a firefighter. I don't want the citizen to say to me or us, let's say, because when I say me, it's about us as a fire community. I don't want to hear this sentence, you know. Give us a call. Why have you forgot about us? So people need to take this responsibility, need to clean the houses, need to anticipate, need to prepare, and they need to assist the emergency services, the state services, and us, everyone, so we can be more resilient and more livable with the fires.
Yeah, sure, completely agree with you. Yeah,
Juan, has been a great pleasure, and thank you so much for being here. I see you're with your.
Yeah, it's.
Is it cold?
I'm in Chile. Yeah, it is cold. I'm in
cheap?
Chile at the moment, and it's pretty cold. Yeah, we're really close to the sea. We're in a beautiful place called Pichilemu in O'Higgins region. And yeah, it's cold. It's winter here. So I just got from 42 degrees Celsius. I was in my home like 10 days ago. And now we're here around 8 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I'm with my jacket. Yeah, nice.
Here I have the aircon. It's on 24 degrees, and I'm still sweating in some times. So thanks so much. I appreciate that. I'm sure everyone who watch this interview, this discussion, I don't like the word interview, this discussion between us, it will benefit. And I'm sure that our roads will meet again in the immediate future.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.